Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Random Wrestling Reviews Local to Global series. And we continue to push on with this series in January of 2000. We've just, of course, put on our last show, which was New Beginning, the first of the year 2000, of course. It's a pretty good show. Show rating of 40, 106 people in attendance as the largest paid audience in the history of the company. And as you can see, Dan Severn successfully defended his RWR Northwest title yet again against Charlie Haas. We also had some other big matches and moments, though, of course, James Storm beat Buddy Wayne by stoppage after CM Punk attacked Buddy Wayne before the match. We had Samoan Violence Connection say that they felt they deserved a rematch for the tag team titles and indeed will get a title shot at the next event. We had James Storm noting that the company had put him against Wayne in the first place to stop him from rising up the ranks after, of course, the situation where he was deducted 5 rankings points, and that's why he is currently on -3, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Dave Batista defeated Chris Adams. It's Chris Adams' first loss in singles competition in the company, and Mark Henry got himself another big victory over C.W. Anderson with Bill Alfonso preventing Henry from continuing to assault C.W. Anderson. So plenty went on in the last show. We've got to put in on the calendar then the new event for the second half of January, and I've got no idea what this is going to be called. So I'm just flicking through what we might, some of the names suggested by the AI. I'm not really sure. I want something really kind of generic. RWR circumstances is too generic. Yeah, just something. RWR Vendetta will do. Yeah, just something, you know, nothing, not something special or interesting. Just a really generic wrestling event name. It's going to be on Monday in week 4 of January. Just check that we've got the availability there. We do, and we can put that in place. RWR Vendetta will be the next event in 13 days. So let's progress to the next player controlled show. And whilst we do that, let me give you the rankings. So this is where things stand at the moment. Dan Severn, obviously champion, 7 matches, 7 wins, and he has pretty much proven himself now as a worthy Northwest champion, I think. 5 defenses is pretty good. We've also got Barry Buchanan and Shawn Stasiak, both on 10 points in the rankings, and that will lead to them facing one another in the next event to determine Dan Severn's next challenger. We've got Dave Batista and Ace Steel both on 7 points. Mark Henry has 6, Chris Adams has 6, Billy Kidman on 4, Chemo on 3, Buddy Wayne on 3, ECMO, Keith Hart on 2, Rex King and C.W. Anderson on 1, and CM Punk, Teddy Hart, Charlie Haas on 0. And there you can see James Storm -3 at the bottom of the rankings. And the story with him, obviously, is that his contract will be up in July of this year. And at that point, as things stand, Bruce Hart is set to fire him based on the fact that he did not fulfill his contractual obligations way back when he lost the Loser League's Random Wrestling Review match and then returned just a couple of months later under a mask and pretended to be somebody completely different. So that's where we are with a lot of the stories and with the rankings. And at this moment, it'd be a good time, I suppose, for me to just ask that if you enjoy this show, if you enjoy this episode, if you've been watching this series, please give me a like. Please comment on the episodes. It's always great to hear what you think, what you're feeling about what we're doing. I continue to really enjoy this series, and I don't want to. I want to keep going for as long as I can. I think that there's a lot of life left in this series, but it's always great to hear from you about what you're liking and also what you're not necessarily liking. So yeah, also give us a subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you're not currently subscribed as well. So let's have a look. We got a pay rise request from James Storm. I think that's fair enough and fairly predictable, given that he's been just really good for us. I'm just checking whether there was anything in the news that was important for me to know. I don't think so. What's his Kingpin, Shane Douglas? He's alienated. Shane Douglas may have alienated himself from the ECW locker room after boldly declaring that he's carrying the company single-handedly. Okay, so he's just annoyed everybody in that company. Interesting that came up then. So we're still not at the next player-controlled show. So yeah, we've got the tag team title match coming up. We've got the number one contenders match coming up, and then we've got a bunch of other matches that I've planned for this event. And yeah, I've as I've been trying to do from the start, I'm not over planning this, but I am trying to make sure that I've got a vague sense of where we're going. Last night's WWF Royal Rumble 2000 took place, getting fantastic reviews. Performance of the night belonged to Shawn Michaels. Now, fans in the UK will remember that this was the first ever event that took place that was aired live on Channel 4, and that was quite a big deal in the UK because it was one of the main channels in the country. 130,000 people turned up for this one, so the unbelievable stuff. Shawn Michaels won the Royal Rumble in an 86 rated match, which is a bit lower than they've been used to on pay-per-view as of late. Lex Luger defeated British Bulldog to retain the Intercontinental title. Hammer defeated the Patriot. Matt Hardy, Marty Jannetty, and Bart Gunn defeated Mr. Hughes and Noon Express. Shinzaki and Carl Ouellet. Nice. Combat Toyota defeated Chaparita Asari to retain the women's title. Okay, so this was actually probably one of the worst shows we've seen from WWF, I would suggest. But they still did 130,000 attendance for it. So, they're not worried. They're not worried at all. And neither are we, because it's time for us to take on Vendetta. We're going to start with an angle for this show. And it's going to be Bruce Hart coming out. And he's talking about Barry Buchanan. And he's talking about Shawn Stasiak. And Bruce Hart announces that the winner between Buchanan and Stasiak will face Severin at Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit, of course, our next event. It's an annual event, one we've had in for a while. So that's all he does. He just comes out and makes that clear from the very beginning. The opening contest is going to see Ace Steel versus Teddy Hart. So Teddy Hart's still, he's still in this situation where he's trying to get experience of being a wrestler and trying to kind of, get the experience, get the exposure, and up his game. But he comes up a loser again here as Ace Steel beats him. We'll make it a tainted win because this is the way Ace Steel goes about things. This is the character we've got for him. But it's a victory all the same. And that's, look, going back to the rankings, Teddy Hart currently 6 matches, 6 losses. This will be his 7th. Meanwhile, where is Ace Steel? He's right up here, 7 points. So he's doing pretty well, and that will be his 8th. So one of the top contenders, really, Ace Steel at the moment. The next match we're going to put together is a pretty big one, actually, I think. Dave Batista versus Mark Henry. So Mark Henry is currently undefeated in singles competition. But here he is going to lose to Batista. I think we'll make it 13 minutes, which might be over long for these two. I'm not expecting this to be particularly good. I'm going to keep Mark Henry strong. I don't necessarily need Batista to get loads from this, but I don't want to sacrifice Mark Henry's aura. He is supposed to be, he's supposed to be this monster heel, but Batista's going to inflict upon him Mark Henry's first loss, and that's the second time recently that we've seen someone get their first pinfall loss or first singles match loss. So Chris Adams lose last time out. Now after this match, we're going to have Mark Henry infuriated by losing, and Bill Alfonso is going to be trying to. So Henry's going to be infuriated by the loss when Alfonso tries to calm him down. Henry attacks him. So he's not turning here, Mark Henry. He's not turning babyface, but he is attacking Bel Alfonso. Now, this is how we're going to get out of the problem we've got with Alfonso and Henry's negative chemistry, is that we're just going to have Mark Henry destroy Alfonso after this match. And we might not see Alfonso again, to be honest, because I brought him in specifically to be the manager for Mark Henry, and it's just not worked out. So I feel like that might be where we go with this. I'm not absolutely sure. I haven't fully decided yet, but that's how I'm feeling at the moment. Then we're going to have a tag team match, first of 2 tag team matches on the night, and this one's going to be Dan Severn and Buddy Wayne teaming up against CM Punk and James Storm. Now, I think this might be the match of the night. I think this will be very good. We're going to make it 15 minutes. We know our crowd don't like matches longer than that. Give it the old slow build. In fact, no, we won't give it the slow build, but we'll give it the storytelling, I think. And we're going to have CM Punk pick up the victory against Buddy Wayne here. And we'll make it a pinfall victory. So that's how that one's going to go. Dan Severn, of course, not defending the Northwest title on this show, but that's a pretty big tag team match. I reckon this is a good show, one that, whilst we don't have a title match on, still has lots to offer the paying customers. So after this, we're going to have Rex King come out. He's not booked on the show, but he's basically going to come out and I've just realised something I've done on my planning, which is wrong. Aha. So what I was going to do here was have Rex King come out. Teddy Hart is already in a match, so that's something I haven't done before when we've been playing in this save. Anyway, is try to book the same guy twice. So maybe Ace Steel doesn't face Teddy Hart. Which of these things am I going to do? Just going to check something with Chris Adams, because Chris Adams isn't booked. I haven't got him on my plan either yet. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to repeat matches too often, but I may have to do it here. So Chris Adams surely beaten Billy Kidman at some point. He has. Okay. I'm going to change my plans a bit here. So this is, instead of what it was going to be, we're going to have Billy Kidman against Chris Adams. And hang on, let me go back again. Let me just check the roster again. Ace Steel, match history, all years, RWR. Oh, RWR. Has he faced, I mean, he must have faced Billy Kidman, right? In a singles match? No, they haven't had a singles match. So, yeah, I'm going to change some things around. So we're going to have okay, right. Loads of changes coming up, so bear with me. The first one is that this is going to be Ace Steel versus Billy Kidman, not Teddy Hart. But what's going to happen is that Kidman's going to win. After a botched interference finish by Rex King. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And then the other match that I'm now booking instead is going to be Teddy Hart versus Rex King. And in this one, Teddy Hart's going to pick up his first win. It's going to be a short match, but Teddy Hart's going to win. No, I don't want it to be open. I think Teddy Hart should dominate, in fact. Sorry, Rex King should dominate. Apologies, because I'm thinking and talking at the same time, and I'm not capable of doing both. We'll have a flash pinfall finish. It's going to be a distraction finish. It's going to be Billy Kidman who causes the distraction. And we'll also keep Rex King strong. So that's how the Billy Kidman story continues. And we also get some surprise victories for Kidman and for Teddy Hart. So that's changed my plans a little bit. but that's what we're doing here. Rex King wasn't even going to be on this show, so that makes sense. So basically, what happens is that in the opener, Ace Steel versus Billy Kidman, Rex King's going to come out and try and cost Billy Kidman the match, but instead he costs Ace Steel the match through his botched interference. And then later in the night, he faces Teddy Hart, and Billy Kidman comes out and distracts Rex King. So that's how that's going to happen. Okay, then we're going to have Shawn Stasiak versus Barry Buchanan. We're going to make this 13 minutes. It's going to be now I might make the storytelling this one because I remember we had a match between these two about a year ago in the game, and it was really good, and it was a storytelling match. I'm going to Barry Buchanan the victor this time, and he's going to get a pinfall victory, but he's going to be helped by Ace Steel. So lots of interference in a lot of these matches. I might just remove the storytelling note from this one, make it regular. And again, we're going to have another person who's going to lose their temper. Is what I should say. It's going to be Shawn Stasiak this time, and he's effectively, after the match, having lost, he goes berserk and starts smashing up tables and pushing over referees. So we're continuing to build towards Stasiak's heel turn, the longest build to a heel turn there's ever been. I think it's now been at least 6 months. And he's going to get angry after losing to Barry Buchanan in this #1 contenders match. And then we have the main event for the Northwest Tag Team titles. I feel like it's right that the tag team titles go on last. Checking who we haven't got. So ECMO, Chemo. Who have we not booked? Keith Hart's not in a match. Not worried about that. And Chris Adams is not in a match either, which I'm not worried about either. We could actually add that match as well, but I'm not going to. So this is for the RWR Northwest Tag Team Championships. Make it 13 minutes, and it's going to be won when C.W. Anderson pins ECMO. Open match. Pinfall finish. Keep Chemo strong. And that's all good. It's in there. We will actually make this one a slow build, I think, given that we're not going to do it with the main event because it's not long enough. So that's the card. I think it's a pretty strong card. There was a bit of stuff I had to change around there in the middle of it all, which I hadn't really figured out when I was planning for this episode. But another good event. Just check that we're all good to go. I think we are. So let's jump into RWR Vendetta. And 108 people are here for this one, so another record attendance, which is great actually, given that this hasn't even got a title match in the main event. And this one just opens the show where Bruce Hart comes out and says that tonight's match between Barry Buchanan and Shawn Stasiak will be for the #1 contendership to Dan Severn's title. He says that Dan Severn is continuing to leave it up to the competitors to determine who the #1 contender is rather than picking one himself. And so the company felt that this was the fairest way to determine who should face Dan Severn, given that these two both had 10 wins currently in the ranking system. Second reign here of 28, Bruce Hart poor, no problem at all. First match of the night, Ace Steel versus Billy Kidman in a match that had good heat and decent wrestling. Ace Steel loses the match in 8:15 by surprise. Billy Kidman getting the victory after Rex King comes in to try and hit Kidman with a chair. Instead, he catches Ace Steel, and then Kidman goes to the top, hits the shooting star press, and pins Steel to get I think maybe a second or a singles match in his entire RWR career. Segment rating of 34. Ace Steel did a 34. Billy Kidman a 29. This was good and a good way to continue the Billy Kidman Rex King feud. Then we had Dave Batista versus Mark Henry in a match that went 13 minutes, 18 seconds, probably way too much, but I didn't want to defeat Mark Henry in a short match. And he did do a segment rating of 27, which I think might be the best Mark Henry's had. Batista was a 38, Mark Henry a 26. Mark Henry and Bill Alfonso are an awkward pairing. They just have no chemistry whatsoever. Well, we're dealing with that in the very next segment. So basically, what happens is that Mark Henry is infuriated by his first loss, losing to Dave Batista in the previous match. And Alfonso tries to calm him down, again, not wanting him to lose any rankings points or be suspended. And Henry attacks him, leaving him lying in the ring and splashes him, basically completely destroys Bill Alfonso. Segment rating of 35. Mark Henry seems to have ditched his manager. Then we have the tag team match, which I thought was going to be very good and was. Dan Severn and Buddy Wayne versus CM Punk and James Storm. And it's Punk and Storm who get the victory in 14:39 when Punk pins Buddy Wayne with a Pepsi plunge. CM Punk had a 43, James Storm a 44. Both of those heels are in such good form and wrestling so well. Dan Severn a 36, Buddy Wayne a 37. I think that's one of Buddy Wayne's best performances too. Woman obviously still at ringside for James Storm, a segment rating of 46. This is fantastic. Could be the best match in company history that we've just seen. So next up is Teddy Hart versus Rex King in a 6 minutes and 24-second match where Teddy Hart gets his first ever victory in professional wrestling, at least according to our storylines. I think in the game, Teddy Hart had wrestled outside of the company before we signed him, and he may have got a victory during that time, but in our story, this is his first ever victory in professional wrestling. A segment rating of 28. Teddy Hart did a 24, Rex King a 39. And this was won by Teddy Hart when Billy Kidman came out and distracted Rex King, allowing Teddy Hart to pick up the sort of distraction roll-up finish. So then next, the match for the number one contendership. Barry Buchanan defeated Shawn Stasiak in 13:28 by pinfall with an axe kick, following interference from Ace Steel. A segment rating of 39. Shawn Stasiak does an in-ring performance of 36. Barry Buchanan a 32. And with that, Barry Buchanan becomes the number one contender and will face Dan Severn in the main event of Fighting Spirit. And I think it's the third Fighting Spirit event. And what's interesting as well is I'm pretty certain that Barry Buchanan main evented last year's Fighting Spirit for the title, challenging Dave Batista on that occasion. But this time he'll go up against Dan Severn. Really good segment rating there for this one, a 39. Really happy with that. We are going to continue without addressing the turn. And Stasiak goes mental after the match. He just goes berserk. He starts smashing up tables, throwing chairs around, pushing referees over. He just storms out of the arena afterwards. A segment rating here of 46. Stasiak, really good segment, actually. He's done really well with this. And Stasiak just continues to perform really strongly in so many different ways. Cannot say enough about the way Stasiak has done since coming into this company. At least, I think it must be about 3 years before this now as well. So he's been around in the company for a long time. And then finally, the main event, the first defense for Red Alert of the Northwest Tag Team titles. And they get the victory in 13:27 when C.W. Anderson pins ECMO in a match that was all right, a segment rating of 37. A little bit disappointing, maybe, given that, look at Charlie Haas now, a 39 in-ring performance. C.W. Anderson is raised to a 30. And Chemo does his usual very good performance of 47. So I feel like it should have been a better rated match than that, but I'm still really pleased with the progress we're seeing from both members of Red Alert, actually, as time has worn on. And that's the show, an overall rating of 39. Not bad, but perhaps not as good as it could have been if I'd have changed the match order. But I'm being quite strict about having the big title matches in the main event. I just feel it's the right thing to do. But of course, the big headline in terms of the great match is the Punk and James Storm against Dan Severn and Buddy Wayne. I'm going to see in a minute if that is the very best match in company history. But I'm pleased with the overall rating of 39, and I think I'm going to give CM Punk a compliment. I'm also going to give a compliment to Charlie Haas, who continues to work really well, and C.W. Anderson, actually, because I think he pretty much put on the best performance for us since we signed him. So that wasn't a bad show, actually, in the end. Pretty good, despite some of the late changes I had to make to it. Feedback has been very positive about our show. I'm just going to check. We haven't still on 15, but you can see we're picking up popularity everywhere else in the US pretty much. There's a little bit in Canada now. Yeah, so I wanted to check whether this was the best match we've ever had. First of all, the show, 7th best show in our history. Not expecting much more than that, so that's good. And yes, indeed, CM Punk and James Storm versus Dan Severn and Buddy Wayne is the best match in company history, a 46 rated contest. That's largely down to the absolute quality that Punk and James Storm are putting in at the moment. But Dan Severn and Buddy Wayne played their part as well. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Is there anything else from Vendetta on this screen? Doesn't look like it. Imagine a 39 rated match is the next best one for us. Barry Buchanan and Shawn Stasiak did a 39 there, 29th best match in company history. They actually did a 39 at Luck of the Draw as well against one another last year. So this is about the level that they can fight at in terms of against one another, which is not bad. And yes, the Red Alert tag team win their first defense of the tag team titles and a notch down on the match where they won the belts at Seasons Beatings, but still pretty good. And the prestige continues to head northwards, which is also really great. So our next show is due to be Fighting Spirit in 17 days. Let me just check that that is in line with when people are going to be available. Indeed, it is not. So we need to bring it forward to the Monday. Yes, the Fighting Spirit 3, the last event, the last Fighting Spirit event attracted 80 people. This should attract over 100. So let's brought it forward a little bit, 13 days, but I don't actually know what I'm going to do in this event. So that's going to be what I need to plan going forward between episodes. But yeah, we'll progress, I guess, to the end of the month and go into February. Um, I'm liking that show. I felt like it was quite well rounded for a show that I sometimes in my head consider the shows that don't have a Northwest title match as being almost like slightly secondary. But for what I would term in those conditions a sort of secondary show, it was actually really well rounded. It had some quite big matches, and of course, it had the best match in company history. So, but it also had Batista versus Mark Henry. First time Mark Henry's had a proper, competitive match. Had a tag team title match, had the number one contenders match. It had lots of stuff going on. But as I say, I don't know what's going to happen at the next event. I haven't yet determined that. Omega have been declared bankrupt. That's fine. I mean, there was a sort of thought in my mind that I could buy them. But actually, I just don't see that there was any point. They weren't going to increase my popularity anywhere. It looks like another promotion has come along. Is it NWA Wildside, or is there some other promotion that's come into being as of late? Looks like CMML have jumped to third, and USWA have dropped to fifth. I can't see what would be the new promotion. Possibly NWA Wildside. No, they've done loads of shows. I don't know. Something's overtaken us anyway. But yeah, we're into February. I've got to think. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be bringing anybody new in just yet, but I am also eager to make sure that the roster doesn't get too stale, because I think that's when it's difficult to maintain lots of different stories when you're trying to thread the needle for certain people in terms of when they're going to arrive at the right place to face somebody else that you also want to put over. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but already booked anyway for Fighting Spirit 3 is the main event. Dan Severn will defend the Northwest title against Barry Buchanan. A number of other matches will take place, but at the moment, I don't know what they're going to be. So I guess that's all from me for this episode. Thank you for watching, and thank you if you've done so, taking the time to give me a like and click the subscribe button if you're following along. We'll be back. We will be back again in the next slot. We will obviously continue the Tuesday and Thursday schedule for this series, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So until the next time, thank you for watching.